Actually cancel that. Looks like the temperature gauge is coming up. So that's one of the dials that does seem to be working.
Welcome back to episode 88. So, in last week's video, you saw me finally answer whether the car was running on 8 cylinders or 7 cylinders. And as a spoiler alert, if you've not seen that video, it was on 7. Really pleased to try that down actually. It was one of those nice problems where you sort of systematically go through and just sort of prove what it must be. And the offending spark plug is now in the bin. So that's really cool. Although I still need to order a new spark plug because I'm using one of the old ones still. Anyway, in this week's video, I want to tackle this. I've had this out the car now for probably 2 months. It's a bit of a mess. It's a constant worry. What do I do with it? I can't put it all back together, the cluster back in, because this is one, probably bits of it don't work. 2, the dials are atrocious. So I've managed to track down some replacement dials which should be arriving towards the end of this coming week. In the meantime, I want to get everything tested, get it all ready to go back in the car, and ideally plugged in and working. I know I can't finalise because I need to recover the dashboard, but at least having this working, all secured back together and plugged in, that'd be amazing. So that's this week's challenge. Please stick me with this one, it's going to be a tricky one. As ever, click the like button, click the subscribe button, leave me some comments, and let's just dive in there and see how I do.
What I'm trying to do here is, basically take the glass off my cluster. It's really grubby inside there. I've been inside with a hoover and a little brush, but I just can't get it clean. So looking at this front sort of plate, it's only glued on. Now I've run my nail along the top there and it's been enough just to force that. I don't know if you can see that. It's just getting loose. So what I wanted to do is try and do the same on the other side, because I figure if I can get it open, I can clean up this, maybe even polish this inside and out, and then look at the actual sort of black on the inside and work out what to do with it. But it's still stuck down, so I'm just gently trying to do it without cracking it. I'm sure it's probably going to go wrong, which is why I'm filming. If I can just get my fingernail under or something. I've got a screwdriver, but I'm a bit loath to use it. I think I may need to sleep on that one and work out if it's worth the risk. I really would like to get inside though and clean it up. It's just so grubby. Right, it's taken me quite a bit of time to get the glass off of the front of the cluster. But I did it eventually. I mean, you can see, hopefully you can see, there's a couple of black sort of marks where the glue is, and you just keep prising it along very gently. I wanted to get this off so I could give it a polish, which I've got my drill here for. Unfortunately, I'm working on an old blanket, just so it's a bit softer. It's clean, just grubby. My drill's really loud, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to talk while I'm doing it, but what I'm going to do basically is polish this both sides. I'm just looking to see what sort of state it's in. It's not in the greatest state. It's mostly sort of grubby marks and things rather than sort of deep scratches. So what we're going to do basically is work our way through. I've got all the different sort of sandpapers and things. This is the coarsest one, which you're going to just pop on the drill now, like that. Dip it in water, sand away. And we just keep going and go up through the different types of sandpaper as we go. I did the 911 headlights a little while back, and it's quite worrying to start with because it goes very scratchy and you think, oh my god, I'm never going to get out of this. But it all comes good in the end, so don't worry if it looks terrible, we will be alright. Let's try. Right, that's had an initial sort of going over with the roughest, and it's left quite a lot of sort of abrasive marks on there. I'm not trying to grind this down to get anything deep out of it. It's just a lot of surface scratches and sort of taking a bit of the oxidization off. So I've given up with the roughest one, which is that one. and drop down a level. Now, each time I'm doing this, I'm off washing it to make sure there's no nasty bits of grit left on it. So hopefully we're pretty clean. Let's do the next level, next grade, and see what that looks like. Hopefully it's coming out okay. From my experience in the headlights, it was more about the final stage. I mean, you do these rougher ones if you're trying to cut out some deep stuff, but I know I'm not. So I'm going to give that one more wash and then we'll see what it looks like. Well, if I hold up to the light, hopefully you can see all the scratches on it. That's what I've just done. So they're the little blemishes and scratches that we're going to polish out. Now just looking, there's a bit of a big one there, so I'm going to grind that a bit more. All of these are fine, they're the circular buffing marks I've put on it. But this area here, it looks like I've pretty much skipped it. So I think we'll go back and have another go at that. That bottom bit feels a little bit rough. Maybe it's okay, I think it's actually hidden, but that corner definitely needs a bit more. After another polish, looking pretty good now. I now need to just buff it up properly, but I'm quite happy with where I've got to so far. So we'll just do the buffing now. Alright, the next grade down now, slowly going through. There's only this grade and then we're on to the polishing side of things. Right, let's have another look at that in the light. Let's see what we're dealing with. It's not perfectly dry, but hopefully you can see now. Still lots of scratches, sort of circular all over the glass. I've only done one side at the moment, but we're getting there. I think we're getting there. Hopefully you can see I'm about midway through polishing this side, this half here. And you can probably still see all the sort of micro scratches on this side, but this side is starting to look pretty clear. I did make the mistake of actually doing a one polish on both sides, which now I can't tell which side the scratches are, but I'm slowly working it out. But hopefully you can see that's coming along, half done, or half of it is half done, but we're getting there. Right, hopefully you can see that. That's the result of probably a couple of hours of polishing, and it was still slightly scratched when I finished it, but I've used the sealant and that's filled up all of the gaps. I don't know if you can see, but I can't see a scratch on it now, so that's really cool. I don't know if it'll help if I bring it closer or not, but that is pretty clean. So I'm going to put that down now, somewhere safe. I'm going to turn our attention to the actual cluster sort of body, if you like. Let me just pop this down. Right, so the sort of plexiglass thing is all being polished up nicely. I've got the instruments all working. We've got all of that looking good. Now we need to focus on this thing. So I don't know how well it comes out in the camera, but there's sort of stains on it. It's discoloured. Presumably there's been water in here and left sort of bits of mould and God knows what. So what I'm going to do then is pop out the three little sort of indicator warning light and main beam lights. They're just a little bit of coloured plastic. Mask up where I don't want any spray, then we're going to, well, actually I'm going to wash it first, then we're going to mask it up, and then we're going to spray it. I've got a nice plastic black that should work pretty well on that, I think. This is a strange material. It's like it's just a textured plastic actually. I always thought it was like a suede almost, but mohair, but it's not, it's just a plastic. So let's have a look at if I can take these out. I've not actually tried yet, but I think. Right, that's the cluster body after a wash. And I think what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to leave it original, not spray it. There are a couple of marks, there's a few little lines across here. But I think I actually prefer that than risk spraying it and it coming out a bit strange. But it does look pretty good as it is. Cluster is back together, glass glued on. So what I opted for in the end was to put a couple of beads of glue on the outside as opposed to sort of in the lip. I put it on the edges here. So if I should ever need to take the glass off, I just basically cut it with a blade of some form, like, you know, these blades that I keep using. And it will just come off easily and quite straightforward. Putting a bead all the way around or in sort of space, different places, which I tried to do the first time round, cost me quite big because I turned it upside down, it dropped off, and a big thread of it, like a spider's web, dropped onto the glass again, and I had to repolish it. So let's not do that. Right, so there's the instruments, all of them cleaned. I'm not going to touch them because I've been over them, cleaned them all, knocked off one of the dials, had to glue it back on, or the needles, had to glue it back on. I'm just going to assemble it. So it's the nice job of just putting this back on. Now I've been through the process of sort of looking inside the cluster, cleaning out any dust. I'm sure I can see stuff while I'm doing it. I'm sure I'm going to see more, but I can see a bit now, so I'm going to take it off again. This compulsive feeling of making sure it's dust free, and just a little bit there. Right, okay. Let's pretend that's dust free now. I was going to do it forever. Pop this on like that, and then I need to turn it over and screw it all together. And this is where it all went wrong last time. I tried to turn it over and the glass dropped off and caused more of the problems. Let's put this down like this. It's been drying overnight, so I'm pretty sure it's on there tight now. And I've got my jar full of screws. And I've been over this cluster testing each of the dials, each of the bulbs. I think you've probably seen me do most of it. And I'm fairly confident it all works. The only question mark is over, I don't think I've actually had the tacho running through the circuit board. Obviously I've had the tacho running many times, but not through the circuit board. I'm pretty sure it will work. We'll try it out shortly. What I intend to do is put this back in the car and get the car on the road so we can actually do a couple of journeys, with the full expectation that it'll all be coming out when I recover the dashboard, which is fine. That gives me sort of time to check what does and doesn't work on this, and I feel sort of sufficiently up to speed with it that I'm not worried about taking it out and taking it apart again, recalibrating even the dials, doing whatever. I don't worry about that sort of thing now, so I think it's been quite a useful project, this one. Right, I hate not finishing a job, but this is going to turn into one massive video if I don't break it up now. So let's leave this video there. Cluster's ready to go back in. It's looking pretty sweet. It actually looks like new, apart from a couple of tiny little marks on the sort of black surround that I didn't paint in the end. But I'm really pleased with it. I mean, it looks fantastic. And from what I can tell, everything works. So in the next part, I'm going to be trying to get it back in the car. I'm going to fit it in here and check it all works. And I mean, ultimately, what I'm after and why I started this was to check the fuel gauge works. That was the whole reason for all of this. I often wonder what would happen if the fuel gauge just worked originally. I probably wouldn't have taken the cluster out and put it down as one of the jobs to do when I come round to the interior. But I'm really pleased I did it. It's been a lot of fun. Really fascinating playing with the Arduino and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's break it there, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to finish it off.